Pardon me? Yeah, we can do that. So we just need to get through this. Okay, so what's the definition of a circle, guys? You know that.
Something with 0 sides.
Okay, well, okay.
It's a single connecting line.
Describe a circle in terms of
Round.
it's round, but all the points are a certain distance from what? Same distance from a what? Yeah. So look at this, guys. I've got a string here. This is the center. So the set of all points that are the same distance from this point. So the string shouldn't change in length. So anyway, you can amaze your friends. So that's the definition of a circle. All points that are the same distance from one fixed point. That's what a circle is. Okay. So we talked about it in terms of our conic section. I think I went and gave back the cone, but if you look at this, if you slice a cone right here, so if this is sitting flat on a surface, you slice through, that's how you get the circle. So that conic section is a circle. We cover a circle first because it's the easiest one to cover. So the definition is the set of all points equidistant from a fixed point. So that was what was illustrated here on the board with the string. So what I want to do next, I've got the equation of a circle, but this is something you can derive. So if you're ever stranded on a desert island and you don't know the equation of a circle, what would you do? Okay? Yeah, so let's look at it like this. Pretend that I drew a circle there. So we're going to call the center some point H, K. And I've got some point on the circle, X, Y. Okay? So a circle is really nothing more than an outproduct or byproduct of the Pythagorean theorem. So let's look at this. If I were to draw a right triangle here, okay, what is the distance from here to here? So this is X, this is H. How long is this side? The bottom side. What's the distance between here and here? It's something minus something. What is it? X minus H. Okay, so this side is X minus H. What is this side right here? No, it's Y minus K. Okay, and there's the radius of my circle. What does the Pythagorean theorem tell you? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So the sum of the squares of the legs. So this means that X minus H squared plus Y minus K squared equal what? R squared. That's it. You've derived the equation for a circle. Okay, so the distance, if you looked at this point, x, y, the distance from here to here is just x minus h, my x values. The distance here to here is y minus k, my y values. So x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equal the radius squared. That's just the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. The sum of the squares of the two legs of the right triangle equal the square of the hypotenuse. So if I go back here, this is my formula. So you're going to want to memorize this formula. In this section, I think I did a good job of like putting bold boxes around formulas. So you're going to need to know every formula we do for the conic section. This one you're going to love because it's easy. Okay, the rest of them get a little bit more complicated than this. But x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equal r squared. So let's look at this. Give the equation of this circle. What I try to do when I'm working these problems as often as I can, let me write down this equation so when it comes test time, I'm not having to cram myself and study the formula. So if I just write it as many times as I can, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equal r squared. What is the radius of this circle right here? What is the center? Let's back up. What is the center of this circle? Yeah, -5, 2. The radius is what? How many? 4. Okay. So the radius is 4. Okay, so the equation of this circle is what? What's h? The center is hk. Yeah, so what's x minus negative 5? Yeah, so this is x plus 5 squared plus what? Y minus 2 squared equal, what's the radius squared? 16. Okay. So that's the equation of this circle. All you need, what do you need to determine the equation of a circle? What things do you need? Center and the radius, that's it. If you know the center and the radius, then it's just x minus this squared plus y minus this squared equal that squared. Okay, that is all there is to that equation. Look at another example. Give the equation and graph the circle centered at the origin with a radius of 3/4. Okay, standard form of that equation is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equal r squared. What's the center of this circle I'm talking about? 0, 0. That's going to make it easier. What's the radius of this one? 3/4. Okay. So x minus h. What is h here? There. So this is going to be x squared plus y squared equal. What happens when you square 3/4? 3/4 times 3/4. Yeah, 9/16. Okay. So that's the equation. How to graph it? Well, the center is at 0, 0. The radius is 3/4. So I mark that everywhere. And then I try, but I'm not really good at drawing circles. Mine look more like almonds or eggs or something. But anyway, if you've got the center there and you've got the radius right, you're close enough there. Find the equation of the circle with a diameter having the endpoints at 2, 4, and 12, 10. So let's graph that 2, 4, and 12, 10. Right here. So what does it mean? Those are the endpoints of the diameter. What does that mean on my circle? It means that the center is sort of halfway in between there. And then what this circle does is, again, pretend that that's my circle. Okay. So how do I find the center between 2 points? Yeah, we have a formula for the midpoint, but think of it, it's just if I've got 2 points and I want to know where the middle is, that's like taking the what? Starts with an A. Average, okay? It's just you average your x's, average your y's, and that's your center. So what are my x's? So if I look at it, 2 plus 12 over 2 and 4 plus 10 over 2. Just average your x's and average your y's. So this is what, 14 over 2, and that's 14 over 2, so 7, 7 is the center. So the midpoint formula is just add up your x's, divide by 2, but just remember you're averaging your x's and averaging your y's. So I now know that the center is at 7, 7, right there. Okay. Now I need to figure out what? I know the center, what else do I need? Radius. The radius is the distance from the center to anywhere on the circle, okay? So I need to find the distance from 7, 7 to either one of those points. Okay. Okay. So there are a couple ways of doing this. You can use the distance formula, or you can just use the Pythagorean theorem. So if you've got the point 7, 7, and you've got the point 12, 10, you can just draw a triangle. On the x-axis, what is the distance from here to here? Not 3. This is x on the x's. What's the distance from 7 to 12? 5. Looking at my y's, what's the distance from 7 to 10? That's 3. Okay? So I know that whatever this side is, I know that 3 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. So 9 plus 25 equals c squared. So 34 equals c squared. So c is the square root of 34. So that's the distance from here to here is the square root of 34. So my radius is the square root of 34. So now what's my equation? Come on, guys. Here's my center. What is the equation? X minus 7 squared plus what? Yeah, y minus 7 squared equals 34. When you square the radius, square the square root of 34, you get 34. Okay? So all you need is the center and the radius. Then that tells you the formula for the circle. So we're just going through different scenarios. I'm giving you different pieces of information to come up with the same thing, the equation of a circle. Give the equation of the circle and graph it. It's centered at 4, 4, and it passes through the point 4, 9. So if you're not sure what that means, just graph it. So this is the point 4, 4, and it passes through the point 4, 9. Okay. So if the center is 4, 4, and the circle goes through this point right here, how do you think I find the radius? You just count it. It's that distance, right? Okay. So this circle is doing, something like this. So what's the distance? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 9 minus 4 is 5. So the radius is 5. The center is 4, 4. My equation for a circle, x minus 8 squared plus y minus k squared equal r squared. So what's the equation of this circle? Yeah, so it's x minus 4 squared plus y minus 4 squared equal what? 25. It's r squared. Don't forget the radius is always squared in this scenario. Next one, you should be able to look. I give you the equation of the circle. Looking at that, where is the center? 3, negative 3. So it's 3, negative 3 is the center. This was a skill we used back when we had the formulas for parabolas. Remember, if it had the x minus, that was built into the formula. So the center is 3, negative 3. What is the radius? The radius is 3. Okay, because the formula has r squared. So how do I graph this? Just go to 3, negative 3, and the radius is 3. So just count out 3 in all directions, and that should help you draw the circle. Right there, okay. Okay, what is a tangent line to a circle? What is that? Touches only at one point, okay? So if I'm not sure what this means, let me just draw it and figure out. So graph the circle that's centered at negative 1, 2. That is right here. And it has a tangent line at x equal negative 5. What kind of line is x equal negative 5? What kind of line is that? Vertical, horizontal? The vertical line. So you go to x equal negative 5 and you draw a line. So it tells me that that's the tangent line to my circle. By tangent line, it's something that looks like this. It only touches the circle at one point. So that means that, by definition, what is this? That's my radius. So you've got a circle, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right here. So the center is negative 1, 2. The radius is 4. So what is this equation? Yeah. Yeah. X plus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equal r squared, which is 16. Is this a function? Is a circle a function? No. Remember we did a vertical line test, and if it crosses more than once, so a circle is not a function. And here's the last one. So this is the one, this one's sort of important. This is why we talked about completing the square. Okay. It's hard for you to see, but that's the equation of a circle. Okay. But it's not in what form? It's not in standard form. Your problem or your mission is to get it in standard form. So what we want to do, let's gather up all the x terms and the y terms, and let's move that constant to the other side. Now, how do I complete the square? So here I need to complete the square in x and in y. What's the process for completing the square? Something we did yesterday. You take that x term or the y term, you take half of it, square it, and you add that. So I'm going to rewrite this as x squared minus 10x, and I'm going to leave some space there, plus y squared minus 16y, again, leave some space, negative 88. Okay. What's half of 10? 5. And then, so I'm going to add, what I'm going to add here is 5 squared. What's half of 16? 8. So I'm going to add 8 squared. If I add 5 squared and 8 squared on the left side of the equation, what do I have to do on the right side? Same thing. So I've got to add, what's 5 squared? 25 and 64. So I've got to do this to balance this equation. Now the reason I did that, what number can multiply by itself and give you 5 squared? 5. If you double 5, you get 10. Okay, so in this case, this factor is as x, whatever this sign is, x minus whatever that number. This is x minus 5 squared. What's the next thing? Y minus 8 squared. That's starting to look like the equation of a what? Circle. Okay. What is 64 plus 25? 89. What is 89 minus 88? 1. Okay. So that is the equation in standard form. Where is the center of that circle? Yeah, that circle is centered at 5, 8. What's the radius of that circle? 1. Okay. No, it's 5, 8. Okay. So if I go and graph this, 5, 8 is right here. And this should be a pretty easy circle to graph. The radius is 1. So that means it goes through these points right here. And there we are. Okay. So that's it. It's about the same length as the lecture that I did here earlier.